I was born in 1927 in Free Poland, Warsaw. I am the second son of Józef Borowski and Maria Niezaleski. My father served in the 10th Infantry Regiment from 1918, and then in the Border Protection Corps, Podole Brigade, shortly after. He was a soldier through and through. My mother, in her youth, was a dedicated independence activist. It's no wonder that my older brother and I were raised in the spirit of patriotism and genuinely loved the country our parents fought so hard to protect. My brother, Antoni, was a promising sportsman as a child. He did everything he could to get me into Boy Scouts. "Otherwise, you'll die reading these books, youngster," he used to say. With the attack by Germany and Poland, my childhood ended. I was 13 at that time. Father was stationed with the Border Protection Corps in the east, so initially we weren't worried. We were much more worried when huge airplanes with Black Cross wings dropped bombs on our city. That was when the USSR sealed our fate. There was talk on the radio about a joint non-aggression pact. But then I realized, for the Soviets, treaties and agreements never meant much of anything. We soon learned that Father had been taken into Soviet captivity. We didn't understand, at the time, what that exactly meant, but we were glad he was alive. We later received a censored letter from him, but only once in 1940. We haven't heard from him since. What came after were years of humiliation. The Germans treated us like animals. We were educated in Polish only during secret classes, which were punishable by death. We had mandatory work from the age of 14 in order to build a strong Third Reich. All of our Jewish friends were kidnapped and imprisoned beyond the brick walls of the Warsaw Ghetto. You could get yourself killed for helping them, but we still tried. They were our friends, after all. People disappeared without a trace. They were taken at night or kidnapped in raids and driven off at gunpoint. 1 in 4 of my playground friends vanished. Like many lads our age, my brother and I became active in the underground resistance. We were so good at our assignments that we ended up working for Kediv, the primary Polish sabotage unit. I can't say anymore. I don't know who's going to read these memories. However, I want to describe our most important operation. We were with the Ocean unit at the time. They're all dead anyway. I was 18 back then. The operation was a success. The retaliation on the civilian population wasn't too terrible. Only 8 residents of a nearby village were shot, and 4 houses were razed. Throughout the following months, Warsaw lived under constant tension. Thanks to illegal radio receivers, people learned about the Wehrmacht's failures. We heard of the Great Soviet Offensive, the Bagration Operation, which devoured the German armies, one by one, and was headed towards Warsaw. We saw them retreating in their thousands through our city, defeated. In the resistance, we all waited for the order to fight the occupant openly. The year before, the Jews from the ghetto did that, although they stood no chance. We, the young, understood them well enough. Better to die with dignity than live under the German scourge and wait for death. From our point of view, open conflict was a chance to get revenge for the years of enslavement and humiliation. We wanted to show the Allies what we were capable of, in order not to get subjugated by the incoming Reds. The Germans suspected that. They weren't blind. My brother and I were placed in the Radosław group. Not many of our colleagues from our previous unit had survived up until that day. The most important day of all. The first of 63. We felt victorious. It didn't matter that most of the other military operations failed that day. As far as we were concerned, we won. We captured huge army warehouses full of all the supplies any insurgent could ever want. We kicked some serious German ass. The civilians were overjoyed. We were treated like heroes. People went out into the streets to build barricades. They fed us, and new volunteers came forward. Thanks to them, our weakest fortifications were greatly strengthened overnight. The Germans also fortified themselves. They didn't expect an operation of that magnitude to come from our side. For the next couple of days, me and my brother and Henya were tasked with guarding the warehouses we captured. We weren't too happy about sitting on our asses when the other insurgents were out there fighting with some success. The worst part came when the first bombs started falling on the 4th of August. That's why when they came looking for volunteers to attack and free the prisoners from KL Warschau, built upon the ghetto's ruins, we signed up right away. The liberation of KL Warschau was the last victory I was witness to. It was difficult to rejoice. We knew the situation was getting worse. In the last couple of days, the occupants gathered their forces and launched an offensive against our newly liberated areas. All of them were surrounded. What's worse, just a couple streets away, a tragedy was unfolding among the civilian population. Germans didn't care whether you were an insurgent or not. They didn't care if you were a woman, a child, old, young. Everyone simply had to die, and the city was to be razed to the ground. To make an example for anyone who would resist, countless innocent people were dragged out from their apartments, cellars, shelters, and shot on sight. Tens of thousands of them. Meanwhile, we fought for the positions near our warehouses. They changed hands for a couple days. The Luftwaffe continued to bomb our positions several times a day. On the 13th of August, the enemy launched a massive assault from the north and west. We were surrounded. I don't know how long I'd been unconscious for. The following days were mere fragments of consciousness, through which I knew I was still alive. My brother and our comrades took care of me, although apparently I begged them time and time again to let me die. We found what was left of our unit and joined them. From a couple of thousand men, only a few hundred were left. We moved from one place to another, trying to survive on the battlefield formerly known as Warsaw. I was slowly regaining my consciousness, but I wasn't able to fight yet. All of our points of defense fell, one by one. Baranov, Starówka, Powiśle. We were sent to one of the last points, to Czerniaków, to defend the last remaining piece of the Vistula's bank. The opposite bank was already in the hands of the Soviets, and the ability to cross it had to be maintained. We awaited their aid. It was our last hope. "63 days. They say that the uprising lasted that long, but in fact, that's only how long we endured. The truth is that after just a week of moderate success, the rest of it was agony. It's impossible to only fight with your heart when there are tanks in front of you, followed by artillery, while the Luftwaffe drops bombs from above. I watched the last days of the agony from the other bank, in Soviet uniform. The Polish First Army was formed from the victims of the Soviet occupation of our country during 39 through 41, while Hitler and Stalin still pretended to be friends. For those people, driven thousands of kilometers away into the wastelands of the USSR, joining such a unit was the only chance to return home. The only chance to hear the Polish anthem one more time and to see the Polish flag. It's a pity that most of the officers were Bolshevik puppets, few of which could speak Polish. My brother didn't want to hear anything about wearing a Soviet uniform. It was the uniform worn by the murderers of our father. Honorably and with his head held high, he was taken by the NKVD and considered a dangerous individual. That was their way of describing brave Polish patriots. Despite this, I decided to wear the uniform. It was the only way to have any hope of saving my brother. I knew he would otherwise meet the same end as our father. He was the only family I had left. I quickly disappeared from my unit, thanks to the complete chaos, characteristic of the Red Army. A few captured bottles of vodka helped me find out where my brother was being held, interrogated and tortured. For a couple of days, I watched the building on Targova Street, where the NKVD located their torture dungeon. One day I noticed that someone else was also observing that building. Someone who I recognized in mere seconds. We left Warsaw. No one stopped a truck full of bodies. I remember that dusk fell quickly that day. By the time we reached the forest near Zielonka, it was already dark. For my brother and Helga, it was too late. Antony, my brother, without whom I would have died 100 times already, and the only surviving person I was close to, had been buried by my own hand in an unmarked grave. Lydia, such a brave and smart girl to whom we all owed so much, was violated to death by drunk barbarians. We buried them and 16 other poor souls. The three of us dug throughout the whole night, not saying a word to each other. We split the next day. Henry was told to go with Storm's family where he would be welcomed, but was instructed to give a false name. Storm decided to look for his only remaining brother out of 3, who was suspected to still be alive. I hid in the city and changed my identity. It's 1945. I know they've been following me for 2 days now. I know that I might not survive. That's why I'm writing these words. Was our sacrifice worth anything? After them, there were others. Others who didn't want to help us, young and naive. They would rather watch us die. I can't stop thinking that there could have been some other way without the sacrifice of our blood and beloved city. I don't sleep anymore at night. I close my eyes, but only see my brother. My brother and everyone else I knew who I watched die. I'm only 19. I feel my time has come. I'll see my parents at last. They are coming for me. I hope one day someone will learn of our fate.